Hey y'all, it's Rebecca, and this is Frostpunk 2. So in the last episode, which was the prologue, that was the Great Hunt, and the episode that I failed the first one and replayed it and won. So this is the actual real episode, the very first one, Chapter 1, Scraping the Barrel. And this is where we're starting off. We survived the end of the world, and now what? So this is me starting the first initial chapter. This is the entire first chapter. I do have these like broken down into segments. I've zoomed in on several pieces of it so that you can like see certain things. I do have this sped up like ×2 or ×3 in certain sections. This is the entire first episode of Frostpunk 2, Chapter 1, Scraping the Barrel. Hopefully you guys are liking these. I am trying to like break it down. Unfortunately, the old captain is dead. New London is weak. Food is low. Overpopulation looms. Coal is running out, which is scary. People yearn for a future worth dreaming of, but it is the same future. Is it? Is it really the same future? Keep the city together. Which is what we've been trying to do this entire time. We're trying to save the people. Or hold its hand on its deathbed. We're trying not to do that. We're trying to thrive, not die. So, are we going to be able to do it this time around? So here we go. Chapter 1, Scraping the Barrel. Coal is running out. The captain is dead. As he weakened, growing divisions brought city maintenance to a grinding halt. Now, New London is left to suffer the consequences. As steward, it is your charge to lead, but you must prove yourself. The overcrowded city is low on resources. Use this warmer year to build more shelter, secure coal, and power the generator back on. Let's get to work. Now, I'm going to warn you that there are some things this time around that I did that I was like, man, what a moron. What are you doing? Also, keep an eye on your resources. Don't over frostbreak like I did, because of course I did not learn from my first mistake on the first time that I failed, and this time around I did frostbreak a few sections too quickly, and I also kind of like shot myself in the foot that time. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware that like from the start, do not frostbreak too many areas too quickly. You will run out of Heatstamps. Heatstamps are what you use as currency in this game to like build things. It is very crucial that you not run out of them, because then you won't be able to build anything. You won't be able to like unlock certain things. You can't research without Heatstamps. Please be mindful about how you're spending them, and it costs like a lot of Heatstamps in order to frostbreak stuff, so be mindful of that. And again, there were certain things that I slipped up on, or decisions that I made on this chapter 1 that I wish I could go back and undo, that will also affect me in chapters 2 and further on, so keep that in mind. A generator wakes. A child is born. People gather around the generator tower as it wakes with a thundering shudder and bestows heat on us yet again. This is the heat of the city, our last line of defense against the cold, our first hope for the future, or any future. Steward, there's a couple who says their first child, a daughter, was born. At the exact moments the generator sprang to life again. They called her Lily May. They asked that you bless her. You gave us hope back. Thanks to you, our child may yet have a future ahead of her. People are hopeful there is a future for them after all. Very well, Lily May. First council session. The city decides. Anticipation fills the air as the council opens. The captain ruled with a firm hand for years, but those times died with him. Now the communities of the city want their say. The steward maintained order on behalf of the captain and adhered to what they claim was his vision for New London: progress, merit, and reason. The New Londoners and the Frostlanders clash over our survival strategy, though neither has a firm stance on economic or social issues. Then there are those who view this, Stalwarts with contempt for their role in New London history, but they keep to the shadows for now. Dun dun dun. Based on your handling of the coal crisis, the first decision is whether you should maintain your role as steward. Open the session. So this is something that you'll have to deal with no matter how you play the game. It's the council session, and then you can put things up to vote, and then you'll be able to vote for things in the season and how you put things up for vote and how you vote on things or put things to the vote, and how you want things to sway a vote depends on how certain things will get voted on in the council session. So keep that in mind. You can always go back and put other things up to vote later, but this is one of those things that you want to be very mindful when you're putting things up to vote and or forcing people to vote certain ways, which you can force people to vote certain ways. But be mindful when you're doing that. That can be very harmful to your status. The council. When you return to the council in the future, you will be able to propose new laws to vote upon. But for now, a special vote needs to happen. The communities of New London have to accept you as their leader. Be careful. If you fail, this will be the end of your role. Or your rule, depending on how you see it. Scraping the barrel. Good work, steward. We have secured a new coal deposit. It's part of the last vein in New London. There's still some deposits left, but they won't last for long. We'll need to improve our mining to use it efficiently, but the city's communities are voicing different ideas about how to do it. We need to decide if these ideas are worth pursuing. We must choose a solution. Deaths due to the cold. Problems in the city. Stewart, a cold wave has taken lives in the city. People were found frozen. Oh, that's gotta suck. Not only in the open streets, but in some houses and workplaces as well. The air is sick with grief and anger. People fear the horror of years past will return under your leadership. They want the council to ensure new laws that can help fight this crisis. Reassuring them would be prudent. People will continue to freeze to death until the cold is brought down. Trust falls. Logistics district built. We can now survey the frozen lands around New London and find resources of fuel to ensure its future. So once you get out into the frozen wasteland, you guys can have access to a bunch of different locations. This is one of them. This is called Makeshift Shelters. It says overpopulation and dwindling fuel reserves force many residents of New London to take refuge in these temporary shelters built around small hot springs. Its inhabitants wait for conditions to improve enough for them to return home. Now, if you look, it says take those New Londoners back in or come back later. Now, I don't have enough Frostland teams in order to bring them back with me. And if you look at the top right hand corner of the screen, you've got the cog, and then you've got the question mark, and then you've got it says 5, and then there's 10 next to that. You need to have so many resources Frostland teams, and you need expedition points in order to bring or in order to do some of those things on that map. So keep an eye on that, and as you unlock more of those logistics points on the map, inside the city, when you frost break out to them, I think there's 3 of them on this map, then you'll be able to unlock more teams. And then as you research things and add those research buildings to your locations, either in your homes or whatever, then you'll have the ability to actually unlock more ability to have faster teams and more team members, and them cost less resources and stuff like that. So also keep that in mind. I also have these little blurbs and stuff that pop up about various people from time to time. I'm not going to take the time to read those. I do zoom in on them so you can read them, but I leave them up so that you guys can take the time to read them if you want. But if you read them, they have really helpful information on them, and if you pay attention to them, they're really good pieces of helpful information, like the one that you'll see pop up on the screen about the guy for the generator, or the one in the prologue had the thing about the seals. It is very good, helpful information. So yeah, there's me trying to build the research institute. I'm dumb trying to figure out why I can't place it. It's because I haven't done the expansion on the housing stuff yet. So dumbass, right click that so you can go and build the housing expansion first. You have to do the housing expansion. There you go. There you go. Yeah, you had to expand the thing first in order to place that, and then now you'll be able to build the research thing next. So also, here's another pop-up. This is on relations and stuff. From time to time, you'll see that I click those. If you want me to do a breakdown, little miniature videos on the camera controls, and a short video on keybinds or the sick and injured, or as they pop up, I don't really click them. I did that when I was in beta, but if you want, now that the game is full version, I can do little short videos and stuff on those so that you guys have a little bit better understanding of them. And I can do little short quick videos where I zoom in on them, I read the thing from top to bottom, and that we just do those specifically. So hopefully this is helpful for those of you that have never played this game and whatnot. And I find that the little snippets of information is actually quite helpful. Old Observatory. This towering structure often attracts outcasts and scavengers who would rather live together in cold isolation than follow the laws of New London. The settlement has been declining since the collapse of the observation tower. Some may be willing to reconsider their situation and join us in the city. Now you can either escort the willing Frostlanders to New London or convince them all to come or come back later, and I did escort the willing ones to New London. Rusted engine, the jettisored second engine of a Dreadnought. Under its hull, we found a core and an irreproducible component from before the frost that we can use to power our most advanced technology. Fissures in the ice suggest that the Dreadnought traveled to the frozen bay a long time ago, so we can either dismantle the wreckage or come back later. Abandoned coal mine, a possible settlement. A mining complex inhabited by children a long time ago. Now, if you played the original game, this is from that. Over the years, they grew older and became citizens of New London. The last miners were ordered home by the captain, but we know some coal remains in the shafts. The approach trails in its poor condition, but we have found a warehouse with perhaps the captain intends to use to improve it. But we could take them or leave them in place if we want to use the mine again. So we can either take the stored prefabs, keep the prefabs for trail maintenance, or come back later. So those are the options. Different ideas. Communities of New London. A small crowd gathers outside of the new research institute, arguing about how to exploit the last coal veins. The Stalwarts and the New Londoners want us to lean on machine-powered mining, but the Frostlanders would have us pursue more frugal solutions. They would never display such discord under the captain's rules. You have to choose who to entrust with developing their ideas. The communities of New London have different perspectives. You may not be able to please everyone. And then the options are show me our options or decide later. Since we have to figure out who, what, where, why, and how to decide, we now have the idea tree. We need new ideas to move forward. However, different communities may propose diverging answers to the same issue. They will only propose solutions that align with their worldview. Choosing a community to develop an idea will improve the relations with that community. Also, you can look at like percentages and see who has more people. This is one of the areas where like I zoomed in. Like with this one here, you can see like there's 43%, 45%, like one of them had like 11%, one of them had like 9%. As you further along in the game, the percentages were changed. People will move from one faction to the other. So pay attention to like who has more populace in the city. Like the Stalwarts only has like 12%, whereas like New Londoners have like 45%, and like the Frostlanders had like 43%. So try and research ideas that will not only look at a few things. Number one, disease, things like whether or not you're going to have like infrastructure problems further on down the line. Is it going to raise things like is the city going to get worse off, like cleanliness wise? Are people going to get sick more? Are people going to be disgruntled because of the choices that you picked? These are all things that you need to be considerate of when choosing these ideas, because some people will be really pissed off. Also, the choices that you make now may be an issue later, so also keep that in mind. Feral children, no common rules. Steward, 5 children are dead and dozens lay wounded after 2 large youth gangs met for what they called a rumble. Most of the children were armed with knives. The fighting escalated to a full-scale battle. As parents of the deceased mourn, many insist these children should not have been left unattended. Well, this is what happens when parents don't fucking parent their children, and today's society is no better. Indeed, many backstreet alleys seem to have been overtaken by uncared for youth. Some areas are beginning to be dangerous even for adults. The persistent lack of law regulating childhood is causing crime and tension to rise even further. The crime is slightly increased, and it says to commit to resolving the issue or dismiss the problem. So, in this instance, you basically need to go vote for a rule to regulate kids. And this is one of those fine lines that you have to go vote on a policy on what to change in this instance as to what you want to do. Now, in Frostpunk 1, you could vote to put kids to work and kid safe jobs, and then you could vote to open it to all jobs. And so in this game it's a little bit different, so I'll show you the voting options here in just a second. So once you vote on the options, it says childhood regulated. Childhood law has been regulated. You kept your promise and avoided unnecessary chaos in the city. Trust rises. Now you can choose to do other laws in the future for childhood regulation, so keep that in mind, that you can go back and modify this in the future depending on what laws that you want to see. So you can go back and change this, but just pick something for now, whether or not it is strict regulation or whatnot, and then you can always go back and modify it later. So earlier we had the abandoned coal mine. This is what happens when you harvest it. This is called this is a settlement now. It's an abandoned mine outpost. It says possible settlement. A mining complex once inhabited by children who over many years grew older and are now elder citizens of New London. So this was what it looks like once you harvest it. Old Observatory. This towering structure often attracts outcasts and scavengers. We went over this one earlier, and I did, as soon as I had enough resources to get people to follow me back to the new city, I went ahead and escorted the willing ones. But as you can see in the top right hand corner of my screen, I have 0 resources to bring anybody back to the city, so I did not end up bringing anybody back to the city with me because I did not have anybody to transport anything. So I ended up leaving them there until I had enough to drag them back, willingly, of course. Another issue that I kept running into is every time I tried to go to the Frostlands and do certain things, you need to make certain pathways and stuff, so it makes it easier for the Frostland teams to move from one point to another easier. It makes it easier if you have certain points on the map, paths or guides so that they can travel faster. Well, I didn't have enough heat stamps for that, and I found out that if you are only producing the pottery looking thing or the gold bar looking things, instead of producing one of each, you're going to run out of supplies, and you need those heat stamps in order to do a lot of things, and I kept running low on them. So again, I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, please be very mindful of those heat stamps. So this is the next one that I was able to unlock, called the Frozen Bay. I needed 13 and I actually had 20, so I was able to unlock it. It says, over 30 years ago, the Imperial Exploration Company landed here to build the region's generator. A few hastily dismantled piers still stick out in the ice, a faded reminder of the short-lived purpose. And it's an open territory. The threat level says it's safe. Possible finding looks like it's people, and it says I could launch an expedition, which I ended up doing. And it says it takes like 15 weeks, 6 days, and it required 13. At least it looked like 13, and I had 20 at the time. So I went ahead and launched an expedition so I could go out and check the Frozen Bay. I believe this was the one where it had the people that were like the shipwreck crew, where you had the people that were in the shipwreck that you could go out and farm, like the 1,000 iron that was in the shipwreck boat, but you had to like catch it before it like there was a way that you had to wait for it to like freeze over before you could go harvest the iron that was on the boat, if I remember correctly, from the original Frostpunk game. And so and then once it did start to freeze over, of course everybody was like getting really sick and stuff, and it was a specific timing in the game in order for you to go harvest on the ship and stuff. So it was pretty precarious to go harvest at that time of the game. So yeah, this was another nod to the original Frostpunk game. Infectious Agents, the first crack. Steward, during the routine medical examinations performed by Stalwarts, a small group of Frostlanders refused to be assessed. These checkups are relics of past years when coughing could endanger the city. That's gone now. We've adapted, one said. No point in continuing this invasion of privacy. Stalwarts maintain that regular physicals help ensure that the safety of our workers, like going to the doctor kind of does that. It's vital we monitor our citizens' health. One foreman pushed back. We've had epidemics in the past. We mustn't allow another one. And you have several options there, and I chose the one that says, for the sake of safety, no one can afford to be bashful. This subgroup of Frostlanders will oppose this decision, and I chose to go with the mandatory checkups. But because of those mandatory checkups, it caused this issue. So be careful when you're picking stuff, like I've said before. Sick neighbors, no common rule. Steward, this morning a house has been found walled off from the rest of its neighborhood. The inhabitants escaped after a while, but they found that local shops and amenities refused to service them. I don't know who did it, but it's for the best. I tell you, them people got all them sort of bugs. The place is healthier without them, claimed a local pub owner. The latest spread of influenza has indeed hit the district hard, and people are on edge. Maybe we have to define the common rule for this one to appease tension. It says, the persistent lack of law regulating contagion prevention has caused tensions to rise even further. So I had to commit to resolving the issue or dismiss the problem. So of course I had to vote into a rule on that kind of issue. But of course, problem with that is if the session is in wait time or whatever, or if they're on vacation, you kind of can't vote if they're on flippin' vacation. I kind of hate that. Looming cold. Problems in the city. As the captain's authority weakened, different groups started pulling the city in their own direction. New London grew overpopulated, whiteouts ruined expansion attempts, and now coal is finally running out. Without heat and shelter, people will start freezing to death. Although the captains appointed you before passing, people are anxious you're not holding up to the task. Prove them wrong, Steward. Cold has risen to a concerning level. People may die or suffer frostbite. Provide shelter and heat to fight that. Tension is high and people are afraid. So as you play the game, more factions will join the city, and this one is called A New Voice Pilgrims. They are made up of 5% of the city. This is favorable, well, so far. 626 Frostlanders have organized a faction. These pilgrims form a resilient, spirited community held together by the bonds of tradition. They are into adaptation, equality, and tradition. They seek to pass community service for expedition support, basic necessities for free essentials, funerals. They want ceremonial funerals, which I don't think I pass anything for funerals, but I can't remember at this point. And then it has 2 other things to unlock. So there are certain things that you have for like perks for each type of faction that you have. So keep in mind when voting on like things for different factions. Crime in the city. The crime problem in New London continues to worsen. Scarcity of goods may drive people to acts of crime when they don't see other ways to obtain necessities. Making goods available help ensure people don't revert to free for all. If they do, watchtowers and prisons might become a necessity. It's also worth examining if our laws are helping us fight crime. It may be more difficult to ensure order as the population rises. If crime runs rampant, people might be injured or killed. Tensions will grow, and radicals among us will grow in popularity. We best ensure it does not come to this. Crime has risen to a concerning level. This also is a thing, like I said earlier, about maintaining that you have proper resources, maintaining that you have a good level of stuff. So when I was talking about making sure that all your goods are like well-rounded, so like you're not just building like one type of resource, make sure that your resources are well-rounded. That's what I also meant by that. You can also have your goods set to like free goods, which is what the pilgrims wanted, or you can have it set to like people have to pay for goods, but there's also a way that you can kind of get around the paid goods for that as well. So I'll get into that here in a minute. Fuel for the future. A lack of common rules among our people can lead to trouble, but as the council debates the future of our city, all are concerned about the days our last coal deposits run out. We must explore the Frostland for more sources of fuel, or else the city will have no future at all. We must find more fuel. And it is running low because we are at -90. If you look at the very center of the top of my screen, we are at -90 for fuel. Also, you'll find here in just a minute, I do find some things that will be coming up that are going to be helpful in that way that will help with part of this problem, but we're not there quite yet. Heatstamps. Stalwarts suggest action. Steward, we're struggling with heatstamps. A group of stalwarts have come forward with an idea on how to solve that. We should pass mass-produced goods. Let us pursue it, and the city will benefit. The stalwarts look with distrust at us with other communities' purpose. They would surely appreciate you getting behind their ideas. The stalwarts want to pass mass-produced goods to solve problems with the heat stamps. And then it gives me the option to investigate a solution or disregard the idea. Now, for the mass-produced goods, I always recommend going with where they are not just mass-produced, but where they're produced with being sturdy. That way, with durable goods, they will last longer and you will have them break less often. Mangled Cart. Among debris is in a mangled cart. We found an old navigation log. We can't wander forever. If we can only get through this canyon, then we can set up a permanent base next to the oil. This cart holds a large number of cores. These cores will be helpful in upgrading our most critical infrastructure. So I can either take the cores or come back later. Old Dreadnought. A ruined machine lies across a crevasse. Wagons spilled into the nearby snow. There are clear signs that people have come and gone from this site, even storing goods here. But what amazed our scouts the most is the huge quantities of readily available oil. This could be the fuel source we've been searching for. We found oil. Oil tomb nomads. On the broken shore lies an old derelict dreadnought. It seems to have been upgraded to run on oil. As it rests beside rich deposits, perhaps the site was a refueling station. Each deposit in the black pools lies a frozen body, wrapped in a shroud and placed in the still wells. Our scouts shudder at the sight. These oil deposits would surely solve our fuel needs, but we would have to desecrate these graves to access all of them. What should our teams do? Remove the bodies or respect the dead? Now, if you remember in the prologue, there was a spot where it talks about, when the people died, they put the bodies in the oil for them to go back so that the bodies could be reused again. So this is just kind of like continuing on with what we did in the prologue, or at least that's how I see it. Black gold. Oil will save the city, but we need to adapt our generator to use it. In the meantime, we'll need to establish a reliable supply. It's time we settle beyond New London. Create a colony at the old Dreadnought and connect it with a solid trail to New London. Only then can our supply be assured. This will save the city. Oil cistern. A tanker filled with oil hangs in a narrow crevasse. It will be dangerous to extract without specialized equipment. So you have to research in order to get to this point. So you can send regular workers or send mountaineers or come back later. So that's something that you have to research in order to unlock. So that is something that I recommend that you wait on to do once you unlock the Dreadnought. Do your research and stuff on the Frostlands in order to unlock that. And you do need mountaineers in order to do it safely, unless you don't mind murdering off your workforce and whatnot. Not a very smart move if you ask me. This is a decision I told you about earlier that I kind of regretted making, so be careful about making decisions like this. Isolated children. Supported quarantine. Steward, there are complaints about our quarantine policy. Forced separation from loved ones is difficult for all of those when they have to go into quarantine. It's especially hard for parents whose children are quarantined alone. One such mother comes to the quarantine facility every day asking to be allowed in to take care of her son. He's deathly afraid of being alone. He can't cope without me, she pleads. Should we allow healthy parents in the facility with their sick children? And the options are to allow healthy parents into quarantine or ban healthy parents. I banned healthy parents, which made things worse. So be mindful about that. Your decisions can cause life and death decisions in this game, and my decision was a poor choice. And because of my poor choice, this was the repercussions of it. The longing of a little heart. Supported quarantine. Steward, the young boy whose mother knocks on the gate of the quarantine camp every day, is faring very badly. Our doctors cannot fully explain why he does not respond to medications like other patients. They fear that the child may never fully recover. You rejected the plea of a healthy parent to accompany the sick child into quarantine. And because of that, he may never recover. So that is a decision that I made. And as a parent, it's like one of those things. Do you want the mom to also be sick because she could get infected in quarantine, and then she would in turn leave quarantine and then infect everybody else in the city? It's like one of those decisions. Do you make that decision and allow her to infect other people? How do you make that decision as a leader, as a parent? Do you allow that, or do you just let her in and then just keep her there? and then, I don't know, put her ass to work or something, because she literally could make things worse if you let her in to take care of her kid. And then what's she going to do? Leave and then get everybody else in the city sick? Or do you let her in and then have her help out? Maybe if that's the case, you let her in, have her help out as a mom. Maybe she could make somebody else's sick kid better. If that was an option, then I would have chosen that. Like, sure, let the mom in. If she's going to help her own kid and maybe help other people's sick kids and help them all get well, then yeah, I would be completely okay with that. But if she's only going to go in and take care of her own kid and fuck everybody else's kid, then I don't want that scenario. So it's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. How do you deal with something like that? And in these kind of cases, it's like, how do you make decisions, that affect an entire populace for one person and one child? A rowdy funeral. No common rules. Steward, there was a shameful display during a wake yesterday. Some of the deceased family wanted a traditional burial, while others complained about a wasteful antic and said that the body should be donated to further the city's healthcare. This could save people's lives was answered with, I won't risk my father's soul, and as people got more heated, this eventually became to blows. In the aftermath of the fight, the body disappeared and each side suspects the other of foul play. Sadly, this is not an isolated incident, and maybe we need a common rule to get everyone on the same page. The persistent lack of laws regulating funerals is causing tension to rise even further. Commit to resolving the issue or dismiss the problem. And of course, I can't vote a new rule in just yet, because if you look, I just checked and it's still on cooldown, and I can't vote just yet, and now I can. And there we go. We're going to do harvesting funerals on this one, where we can use the bodies for resources and whatnot. And of course, they ain't happy about that either. So this is funerals regulated. Funerals regulated. Funeral laws have been regulated. You kept your promise and avoided unnecessary chaos in the city. Trust rises. So basically, I just made a law that said that, we would use the pieces of parts of people that have died to heal sick people so that we could get them, healthy again, and then, put the other parts to good use as much as we could, and then we would use the rest of their body for fuel, or turn them into ash, and or return them to their families as ash. So that was the breakdown of that if you did not read it. But I mean, it's kind of like what we do in healthcare now. I mean, for people that donate their body to science or whatever, if you're an organ donor, then basically your organs go to people that are in need, that are on, in the United States, it's called a UNOS list, where they harvest your organs and other people get to use them, so that it keeps other people alive if your organs are okay. Unwanted destiny, family apprenticeship. Steward, a father has come to our offices with his son. They both ask you to hear them out. This boy is not cut out for a blacksmith, said the father. His knack is for words, poetry. I can bend steel, but he can stir souls. Please let him be apprentice under someone who can teach him how to use his talents. Their plea echoes the sentiment of some that family apprenticeship limits the prospects of children born under these arduous career paths. What should we do? So your choices are make the law more flexible or stay firm. And in this case, I made the law more flexible because there are some children that are born in households where the parents do farming and the kids are musical and shit like that. And the kids are just not made for farming. If you've ever grown up doing farm work or anything like that, it's a hard life. I mean, hell, my parents, when they were first married, lived on a chicken farm, and I mean, I know how to do farming and stuff like that, but I tell you what, it's a hard fucking job. My brother wouldn't know what the fuck the front or back of a cow is if you even showed him which direction was what. So not everybody is cut out for that kind of stuff. But you give him a piano and he knows what to do with it. So, I mean, he's a delicate little fruity flower. But I can tell you what the front, back, and sideways of a cow is and what to do with them. So there's that. Now, this one is the deposits were running low, which means that we're running out of coal, which is really bad. Deposits are running low, coal is running out. Steward, some of the coal deposits in this district will soon run out. The Stalwart and the New Londoners believe that they can use explosives to access deeper veins of coal. The Frostlanders say that we should send children for mist ore in the tighter tunnels. Some did this as kids themselves in the abandoned mine outpost, and they survived unscathed. Should we support any of these ideas to extend the deposit? So the options are lay explosive, recruit children volunteers, or avoid all risks. And I think I chose lay explosives because I didn't want kids going down in there because, I mean, that's a fucking dangerous ass job. But also, when I made that decision, I created another fucking problem. So, yay for that. So you remember how I mentioned that I created a problem with my last choice wheel? It was kind of a bigger problem than I had anticipated because then we created this problem, which is fire in the shaft. Coal is running out. Stewart, a fire is broken out in our coal mine, and if we don't react, we'll lose the mine along with the deposit. And then my dumbass chose the wrong option. Some of the Stalwarts engaged in the rescue effort insist that we can still save the mine by cutting off the air supply to the shaft and suffocating the flames, which is what I should have chosen, but I didn't. But some of the miners are still making their way out. It'll suffocate them too, which I should have done. After we deal with the crisis of the dust coal mines, we will ensure that these incidents don't occur again. So I should have either blocked off the air supply, which would have put out the fire, because, fire needs oxygen to live, or evacuate the workers. I chose to evacuate the workers, which let the flames continue to burn and burned all the coal, and I ruined the supply. So don't be like me. Again, do as I say, not as I do. I will continue to say that because I done fucked up. I also pissed off somebody in the process because I guess I did not listen to what their demands were because I didn't realize, they're mass-produced goods. I see it up there now because I did not realize I was supposed to vote on that, and whoops. So yeah, the top left-hand corner of the screen, it shows you that I was supposed to vote on some stuff, and it also tells you like your quest progress on the top left-hand corner. But it says the Stalwarts' demands failed. The Stalwarts are furious you broke your word. They now look upon your rule more negatively and doubt your integrity. Relationships with the Stalwarts worsen, trust falls. Well, they're only like 4% of the population, so I really don't give a flying fuck about them, to be honest. They really can just kiss my ass. The city grows. Population growth. Stewart, a new count has revealed significant growth in our population in recent weeks. Some attribute the rise to an influx of settlers from the Frostlands, others to births outnumbering deaths. Whatever the cause, we've adjusted our calculations to the city's needs to reflect the new numbers. 1,617 more people live in this city, which is nice because, at least they're not out in the wasteland freezing their butts off. Lux Aeterna, durable goods. Steward, a young eccentric inventor, brought us a prototype of a lamp generating an almost endless supply of light by storing what he calls solar fluorescence. Looking at this lamp that never runs out, it doesn't need servicing or replacing, and the power can be redirected to other functions, he said excitedly. He is asking for funding to produce a larger scale to benefit all citizens. Should we finance this project? So we could either finance the lamp upgrade or pass on the invention. And I financed the lamp upgrade because how freaking cool is that? I mean, yay. I mean, why aren't we using the sun? But you know, hey. Ingenuity at its best. You go, man. Imperial Freighter, the Old Empire. The wreck of a mighty freighter marked with the colors of the Old Empire. Is it the only wreck we see facing away from and now towards the coast? It seems to have collided with another vessel and partially sunk. But fortunately enough remains above the surface to be salvaged. An outpost here could increase our supply by 200 materials until its deposit of 2,444,000 materials are depleted. So it allowed me to build a trail or a skyway to it to farm the resources. Like, how cool is that? New lamps save lives. Durable goods. Steward, our new solar fluorescent lamps are resonant success. They may not be as everlasting as we had hoped for, but they are probably as efficient as we'll ever make them. They've recently allowed a group of citizens lost in a blizzard to signal their position for long enough to be rescued. That is freaking awesome. That is awesome, because in the snow, everything is hard to fucking see. Bless the whiz who came up with this tech. We'd all be dead without it, said the relieved father. You agree to finance the young inventor's lamp upgrade, which I think is also pretty awesome. Kudos to you for making it, and kudos to me for funding it, because, yay. Program Roar, mandatory school. Steward, people are increasingly arguing over the curriculum taught in schools, which is exactly what the fuck they're doing today. Some think we should reduce theoretical knowledge and provide more survival training. We're filling these kids' heads with numbers and useless junk, complained an angry trapper. We ought to take them on field trips to hunt. Others argue the exact opposite. We need to teach these children how to think and come up with new solutions instead of perpetuating outdated practices, says an engineer. What should we do? Focus on survival training, concentrate on science, or keep a balanced education? And I always choose a balanced education because I feel they should learn both. Visions of our future, diverging ideas. Steward, everyone in New London is awaiting the moment we get a steady supply of oil. So many fears would vanish, so many dreams made possible. But those dreams seem to be diverging. Stalwarts paint visions of an eternally warm New London, as warm as only the eldest among us can remember. But pilgrims want to use this newfound power to reach out and settle more remote places on the Frostland, making it our own. Both factions started thinking about how to use the oil when it reaches New London. When it does, we will have to decide. Now, one thing I didn't notice was at the top, you can see the little blinking icon in the top right-hand corner. Like there's a little mountain view, which is the Frostland, and then you got a little blinking icon, which is like for the generator where I'm at right now. I didn't know if you click that, there's a little button up there that allows you to transfer goods from the one city to the other. And let me see if I have a screenshot that I can go ahead and stick in here really quick. Okay, so on here, if you look, the first little icon shows the transfer button. That is to like transfer goods and whatnot from one city to the next. I didn't realize I could do that yet. So like I could have like ended this like now, like at the hour mark. Now, granted, a lot of this is sped up times like 2 or times 4. I could have like ended this now, not knowing. The middle button is for like transferring people, and then like the eyeball is like to travel to the location. So then we get into the next photo. The next photo is actually what pulls up when you click that first button on the left, where you transfer the actual resources, which is where you can transfer food and resources and like the, durable goods and like, other things back and forth, like the oil and whatnot. I did not realize until like 2 hours into playing this chapter that I had this ability, or I could have won this an hour earlier. I had no idea. So I wanted to mention this like now so you guys don't have to wait so long like I did, because I was tired. I recorded the prologue first, and then I continued on playing. And by the time that I got done with chapter 1, it was like 4:30 in the morning. And I had worked that night. I had updated the game. I did not start playing until like midnight, or like 11 o'clock at night, something like that. It was when I started the prologue, and it was a late night for me. So I was really flipping tired. So I had worked and whatnot that day, and I had doctors that morning, and I think I had a doctor's appointment like 8 o'clock that morning. It was a teledoc visit with my neurologist. So I was really flipping tired, and I should have just like played the 1 and like gone to fucking bed. No, I played the 1 and then was like, oh, I'll play the next one. It shouldn't take them that long. No, it took a while, because if you look, it's up there flashing, and I didn't even fucking realize it because I wasn't paying attention to it. So again, do as I say, not as I do. Hasty Overburn, waste incinerator facility. Steward, some of our citizens worry that people are throwing out precious texts to be burned in our waste incineration facility. Yesterday, I looked through the pile and found 3 books from before the Great Frost. said one of the citizens. Imagine they could have been burnt. How many already have? So much knowledge we have lost out of haste and carelessness. What should we do? I did choose to save the books because I am a book lover. So I chose to do the option to save them where it says, we will not slow down our operations. These books are useless now anyways, or sort waste before burning. So that is the option that I chose. So it will, slow us down just a little bit, but, I think it's an option worth doing. Old comic papers found. Steward. While sorting the waste, workers of an incineration facility found a stack of pre-frost comic papers titled Ally Slopes Half Holiday. Although some references are lost on us, the cartoons are being reprinted, delighting citizens of all ages. Some people even started publishing reimagined adventures of slopers in our very city. Tensions have slightly decreased. So see, saving the print kind of helped reduce tensions in the city. This is what happens when you save old shit. Sometimes old books may bring new life to new things. So not all old shit is bad shit. Coughing fits. Stuart, we've noticed a rise in chronic lung conditions after we started pumping recycled heat into our housing districts. Doctors suspect the fumes from the industrial plants where the heat originates leaks into people's homes. If this goes on, it can lead to bronchitis and even deaths, especially among the weakened and the elderly, said one physician. We could install filters to block the fumes, but this would reduce the amount of heat we recycle. What do you say? So we could either choose one option or power through. I chose that we must care for the weak, even if it reduces how much heat we recycle. So I did choose the less efficient way. And also there's another option that you can choose for like using moss to recycle the air in the buildings and stuff. So that's another option that you can also choose to research later on. But also by this point, had you already transferred the resources, again, if you look at the top right hand corner, that icon is red and flashing. And you can see it's red. Like I could have transferred those resources like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes ago. Had I done that, the game would have been over by now. So we wouldn't have even gotten this far in. And so that would have saved me a whole lot of trouble. So just keep that in mind that this campaign would have already been over by now. And I would not have had to waste this much time on this campaign. So, it would have already been a moot point. Life support. Steward, while citizens are grateful for our commitment to providing basic necessities for free, it seems to have made some a bit carefree. My dad broke his back in the mines, and for what? Some meager rations, a poor quality lamp, and a pat on the back? I get the first ones for free, and I don't need no pat, said a youngster who spent his days playing his jerry-built guitar. Some great storm survivors are lamenting that work and responsibility are losing their meaning, and to ask condition-free essentials to performing a minimum amount of labor. What should we do? So in this, there's a couple of options. There's either demand work in exchange for free essentials or keep providing essentials without compensation. And it says an increasing number of people are choosing to work and live off of free essentials. And I ended up choosing to demand work in exchange for free essentials because I think that even children in this type of situation should be able to work in order to pay for the things that they're using in their own households. So, I think that it's only reasonable because even in regular Frostpunk, I put kids to work in the damn kitchens to make meals for people. So I don't see that as an unreasonable request. Wise Woman Camp. Our scouts have met the Wise Women Camp for which these hills are tamed. Some are, in fact, New Londoners who left during the captain's first days. They would be pleased to return to New London now that we have a council, and they say they can bring some chorus with them. However, some of the captain's most loyal followers consider these women traitors and think that they should remain exiled. So I ended up taking the women in. Abandoned Lazaret. Built hastily during the 1801 plague, these buildings were used to quarantine infected New Londoners. They now lie silent and forgotten. Scores of wooden crosses and grim reminders of what transpired. Should we decide to disturb the dead, dismantling this place could yield some raw materials. So do we dismantle the Lazaret's remains or come back later? I ended up dismantling it, because you never know what you're going to dig up. Abandoned Research Station. Inside this abandoned research station, our scouts found a circle of frozen naked bodies laying around a strange idol made of ice. Nearby sat a pile of Saltworth uniforms. The station has fallen into disrepair. We could salvage it for prefabs, but the Stalwarts would prefer that we destroy all evidence of this place and redact it from the official records. So we have a choice. We could salvage the remains, or use, do the, hey, what research station, or come back later. I chose to salvage the remains because why waste the resources because some nutjob cult decided that they want to do something fucking weird in the damn snow. So we're going to use the resources and they can be weirdos on their own time, okay? Old Cookbook Found. Steward, following your instructions to save the waste, workers at an incineration facility found a pre-frost cookbook called Modern Cookery for Private Families. Snowden pudding, mull getaway soup, quince blanc mange. Recipes are being copied over and over, and people are eagerly trying to People are eager to try and recreate them with ingredients available to us. Half the city has been exchanging old memories rekindled by these tastes. Moods have been lifted, tensions have slightly increased. And I think that is probably one of the most important things about trying to preserve history and save history. In the past, especially when there was that uprising in Germany with the Nazis, when they were burning books and stuff, a lot of those books will never be recovered. There are a lot of books and stuff that were burned in Nazi Germany during the that Great Depression era, that we will never be able to recover any of those books that were kind of like region locked, that we will never be able to access that information. And it's kind of sad that that's what the society has come to. And we're kind of at that point right now in today's society where we're kind of facing all that shit again, where people are trying to ban books and ban education and stop people from learning about the past, and especially in like the southern states here in the United States, where they're trying to put religion back in schools when we're supposed to have a separation of church and state, where they're trying to put religion back in our public school system, which we voted against decades ago. Cutthroat economy. Stuart, now that we are charging for essentials, some unemployed families are unable to afford basic necessities. Work goes to the worthiest. If these people were passed up, it's their own damn fault. They should have put in the work instead of expecting the city to solve their problems, claims one Stalwarts delegate. Others are more measured and say that they could provide them with a weekly allowance. If we can offer them work, we will give them a budget. Up to them to use it wisely. What should we do? And the options are to allocate an allowance to those in need, or let them fend for themselves. And I did allocate an allowance for those in need because some families just cannot physically work, and I do understand that. Gaelic dictionary found. Stuart, another rare book has been saved from the incineration. It's a Scottish Gaelic dictionary entitled... Okay, forgive me for my pronunciation. Nauda Floclair Gaidach Agus Bearda. The news was welcomed by some of our elderly, eager to transmit their heritage to younger generation. Learning Gaelic has already become all the rage in some circles. Tensions is slightly decreased, so I think that is kind of awesome. Now, granted, I didn't actually ever properly learn Gaelic, even though my dad was in a bagpipe band from I was age 8 when he learned the bagpipes, and we were in the Glencoe Highlanders. I think I was age 8 to 17, 18 years of age. I was color guard. He was the piper, so he was a pipe major for like 10 plus years. So you would think I would have picked up the language a little bit, but because we had people from Ireland, Scotland, Wales, a few that were from England, but for the most part, they spoke. The Irish people, they actually spoke Irish Gaelic. So I just never learned the language. So sorry if I pronounce any of that wrong. And but yeah, I think that's awesome that this game included like stuff like that. That's really fucking neat. Ruins of Tesla City, possible settlement. The looming remains of a city once famed for its technological marvels. The place has had a bad reputation and has been picked clean over the years. Well, Tesla has a horrible reputation today too, so it's not much a change. But to our surprise, our scouts uncovered a yet undiscovered chamber. It houses a mechanical calculator powered by a coal to oil converter. It remains active, though no one knows how it's calculating. We can either remove the converter to replicate in New London, though this will deactivate the machine, or we can send in a team here to use the machine to base our research. So you can either salvage the coal to oil converter, create a research outpost, or leave the machine for now. Which I created a research outpost, which then pops up Tesla Research Outpost, possible settlement. Our brightest minds come here to study the technological marvels buried in the labyrinthine ruins. They are slowly mastering the computing machine and use it to solve complex problems. And it says research, space, speed increased, and it told me that I needed to build a trail or a skyway in order to connect the cities and whatnot. So I thought it was really cool that they included this into the game because, you know, Nikola Tesla has like been kind of like a polarizing figure in time, and then of course you've got Elon Muskrat and all of his bald bucktoothness that has kind of ruined the Tesla name and has taken Nikola's invention and like created the bullshit that it is now. But I like the fact that the people who developed this game took the greatness that was Tesla and included it in this game. I think that was ingenious of them.
People of the city, your council has
Halted advancement, black gold. Steward, members of Pilgrims, but also many other citizens afraid that our fuel will soon deplete, have begun to openly criticize your failure to achieve our goals. That flashing thing up there in the top corner? Yeah, I forgot to do that. We need to quickly find a new source of fuel and a permanent one, not some temporary half measure. Otherwise, we will not be able to sustain New London. They will warn that if you don't make progress soon, you will be ousted from office and exiled. If black gold is not finished soon, you will be exiled. Relations marginally worsen with all communities. So, like I was saying, like earlier, that this could have like ended like a while ago. Yeah, that's because I totally didn't realize that I could have fucking transferred the resources over like ages ago, and I just didn't notice that flashing little thing in the top right hand corner. And had I done that like 45 minutes ago, I could have won. Captain's mine. The captain himself ordered this mine dug as New London's coal began to dwindle, but its hastily laid trails was lost in to a whiteout. The shafts are marked with the mine's final farewells to their family. Pipe rats. Stewart, as the city grapples with bitter cold, our Heatpipe watch crews are struggling to keep our infrastructure up and running. One got results by sending in a child. The thick ice made it too narrow for any of us, said one crewmate. Tim volunteered. We bundled him up in thick layers, gave him a lamp and a blowtorch. The lad's tough as nails and a skilled welder. Fixed it in no time. While some people are outraged that we still resort to such measures decades after the Great Storm, others say we should allow it in extreme circumstances. What should we do? Allow Heatpipe watch crews to use children or prohibit the use of children? I think let's do it. And here's where I finally figured out how to transfer the resources. I cannot believe it took me this flipping long to figure out how to do this. Like, I feel kind of like dumb after this. A new fuel flows. Anticipation fills the air as the first transportation of oil is sent to New London. To dream of a future without feeling cold feels surreal. To make it happen, however, we need to maintain the generator to turn this black gold into heat. This will be irreversible. What future we build for ourselves will depend on it. We must decide. So here it is, guys. We finally won. This is chapter 1. This was the game win. This was scraping the barrel. So this was the first win of the game for Frostpunk 2. Granted, I have said this multiple times. Do as I say, not as I do. It should not have taken me this long. I could have won this literally in half the time had I paid attention to little flashing things on the screen, but I was too busy wandering around doing other stuff and doing research and this and that and not paying attention to the little flashy red things on the screen. So leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see you in chapter 2. And let me know what you guys think. Are you liking the narrations where I'm reading the little blurbs that come up on the screen and the little diatribes that I go on and left field kind of things that I do because ADHD squirrel moments that I have. Let me know what you are thinking about the game so far. Did you watch the prologue, and did you play Frostpunk 1? Are you interested in playing Frostpunk 2? I'm curious to see. So anyways, I will see you guys later. Have a fantabulous day or night wherever you are. Bye.